Here we go. And you hit the button, cycle start. And let's see, where are we at? Why isn't it running? Oh, air. Got to turn the air on. There she goes. I should just sit there and run all day. Run all day. See, now it's cutting off now. Now it's gonna, I'm gonna physically push that stock out. Now it's running against that stop. It's gonna go into where it stops. It's gonna reject, close the collet, and it's gonna start the machine. That's gonna, as soon as it hits back there, it'll start up. Okay, now it's doing some back thing. I just got it cutting air right now. Doing some, say something, whatever you're gonna do. All right, now it's gonna do something else. Whatever it does. It's peck drilling. Check that out. For deep drilling, you don't have to do that on every drilling site. You can do it, use it or not. It's going to change to something else. Now this is going across. It's going to feed out. It's doing some slow thing. Now it's going to tap. You're going to see it reverse. Now it's going to tap. Tapping, 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 let's say. It's going to come to a stop. It's going to dwell for a second, reverse itself and go back. There you go. Now it's running the other way. It's going to do some other operation, turn or whatever. Now, of course, there'll be coolant running on us all the time, and they recommend that you use oil, soluble oil, because it keeps the machine lubricated, and there's a lot of electrical stuff here, and the water gets in there and it turns rusty and all that, so you just use the oil. Now you're going to see it's going to cut off. I'm going to put a little coolant on there, a little bit of stuff on there, so it'll cut off. After this operation, the chute's going to shoot out and it's going to cut off the piece. Hey, of course you got to adjust it up and everything. Bing. Of course that would flow down with the oil. And if you had that dwell a little bit, if I had that set right up exactly right, the dwell would just pop it off. Then I just put the piece out like this. So, that starts up the next operation. I just have it, like I said, running, cutting air at the moment. Now what we're going to be making is these pieces right here, which are the ferrule nuts, and they're all brass, of course. We're going to be making that on this machine, and making many other things. Well, that's basically how it works. Now, a little story. Now, you all know that I had a CNC Emco Meyer lathe that I bought, and I wound up putting about $7,000 or $8,000 into this machine to get it to run, and it never ran. And when I bought it, it ran. It's basically a power issue. And I don't want to get into that, you know, boost and all that nonsense. it just doesn't work here because the power fluctuates so much because of the old time power in the street out here and the restaurants up the street and all demand of power. It wouldn't run. So it's not going to do me any good. And I made the mistake of, believe it or not, I went to see Tom Cook and I showed him that the machine did run. It run after a fashion. It ran, and it also ran. Sherman brought a big three-phase 60 kW generator here, and we hooked it up to that, and it ran beautiful. No problem. It's the power. But I took pictures of it running, and I brought it down to see Tom, and I said, Tom, look, what can we do with this machine? You interested in it? And he says, well, I'll tell you what, you want this DSM-A here? I'll trade you even. So then it would have cost me, at that time I had $3,500 or $4,000 into it. So this machine ultimately would have cost me $4,000. And I said to him, well, I really want to get that running, and I'm going to attempt to try to see if I can get it running. When I went back to the shop here, I called Emco Meyer, which really wasn't a big help in a way because they have no one there that knows about 25-year-old technology machines. So they suggested that I call this guy in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, and he was supposedly a repairman that knew about these machines. Now, I don't even want to talk about how much it cost me to have him come here. He came here twice, left at the end of the day, or the second day, and said, I can't fix the machine. So I spent money there. He was a little bit, regenerous about it. He only charged me traveling time, which I still had to wind up spending about $400 to get him here, to tell me the machine don't work. Well, at that point in time, I sat in front of my computer literally for 3 hours looking at a blank screen. I was so upset. And I cleared my head and I come on and said, well, hey, there's got to be somebody to change these over to modern technology to run off of Mach. So sure enough, I Googled it, and this fella came up on CNC Zone, and I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a letter, and that was on a Friday. On a Monday, I got a letter. Sunday, I got a response from him, and it turns out he's only 14 miles from here, and we've become now in the last 2 years. It's been 2 years since that happened. We've become very good friends, and last year, a year ago, when I had the opportunity to buy this chucker, I said, you know what, I'm not going to mess around with this. I was having trouble getting it started. It's a lot to it to convert a machine, especially a lathe. A lathe is tough because you have the spindle and everything to deal with. That's part of that. And that machine isn't that easy to convert. And my first conversion, there's nobody to support me other than Pete. And Pete couldn't help me all the time. So I called him and I said, look, I'll give you a deal of a lifetime. Take this machine, you can have everything. I sold it to him a reasonable price, and I put a little more money into this chucker, and I got the chucker, and you've seen that running. It's beautiful. Well, then Mr. Pete come along, and he did a video on this place in Leland, Illinois that was going out of business. I had a lot of Brown & Sharps all over. They may even have one of these, I don't know. But Brown & Sharps. And it showed a Brown & Sharp running. Pops parts out. And it was a 00 machine. Now, the 00 machine is from 1/32 up to ½ inch. And it also requires the generation of cams. You have to make cams. Now, maybe with CNC you can generate it, but you have to have a special type of machining to machine those cams exactly right. And there's a lot of technology just about that, and I wasn't about to learn that. So I really didn't bother with it. And I said, well, I'll figure something else out. And one day it dawned on me. I Googled or on Facebook. When this comes up, it'll be DSM-A. There'll be other DSM-A videos there. There's one in particular, a guy making little parts, and that convinced me. Hey, Tommy Cook has got that DSM-A. Let me go talk to him. So I looked into it, and I did some research on the machine, and this machine will do from 1/32, like I mentioned before, all the way up to 1 1/16", 5C collet. And then you could also put you literally could put a chuck on it if you wanted to, but no need. There's no need to put a faceplate. There's no need to put bigger than what the collet is. This is going to be, for me, strictly a collet machine. And you see it operate. I mean, wait till I get it all hooked up and doing the parts. It's going to even be better. So It took me a month to get it, and I almost gave up because of just the frustration. And one day, Sherman was sitting here on a bucket and watching me, and I did the little thing. I pushed the button, and it started running, just like that. 2 days ago, started running. Yesterday we did a little more work on it. We fooled around with it, got a little tweaking more. And believe me, this machine is going to really do well for me, and I'm really excited about it. And if you get a chance to buy one, you can buy them cheap. I never really saw one as cheap as this, but this, by the way, was one owner, bought it brand new, 1972. It only did one job in this guy's shop. The guy passed away, and about 6 years ago, Tom got it, and it was sitting in his shop for all this time. And evidently, either it wasn't bad before this, or it really wasn't working right, who knows. But I got it running, thank God, and it's running great, and I'm happy with it. And I'm learning about it. I've got a lot of tooling I bought for it. And this machine, by the way, will cut a taper. Well, how does it cut a taper? Very simply. I'll get the tool. I'll show you. This tool right here is called a recessing tool. I'll get it up there so you can see it. Okay, and this is I got off of eBay. It was about $100, and you see it's spring loaded. See that? Okay, now how that works? This little doodad here, you can change this, make different kinds of point, whatever. What that does, it goes in the machine, in the turret. On the back slide, you put the template of what degrees you want it to be. Say 3/4 taper per foot for pipe thread, you want to taper the thing. And what happens is, this comes out, stops, the back slide comes, engages this, and then it starts feeding in. Or the back slide comes out first, this comes out, whatever, how you program it, and then it just follows that, and it just follows that taper, and it'll cut the taper. If you want to recess, like put an undercut in a tool, in a part for like an O-ring groove, you have the tool all set, it's got to be machined properly and everything. You put it in here, this comes out, goes into the bore, clears the bore. The back slide comes over, pushes it to the depth you want to cut the O-ring groove, retracts, this pulls out, O-ring groove. Simple. If you want to cut a taper like something like that, this will follow the taper. Then that's a short taper. Then they have a longer taper. Machine is about that long, and it comes out, it makes it a longer taper. But you can also do it with this. You got 4 inches of travel. So if you made a template long enough for 4 inches, this will follow it. Whether you need it, I don't know. But it can do it. What else can it do? It'll tap, it'll thread, left hand, right hand, it doesn't matter. You could actually do, like I said, second operation by opening and closing the collet manually. You can program the machine to cycle stop. Okay, cycle stop. Open the collet, put the part in, close the collet, cycle start, face it off or whatever you're going to do. Next thing is turn, cycle stop, open the collet, put the next piece in, cycle stop. You can set up, say, 3 tools around, and you can do, like say brake cylinder, for example. Do the brake cylinder on one side on this other machine, do the second side over here. Or I can do it over there. Matters not, but you can do it. So, other than the fact of chasing a thread, which I can do over there, or that's it. I can do everything else but actually chase a thread. You can, geometric die chaser, it goes in, hits a stop, and automatically opens and reverses. Or you could do it with a acorn die that went in, comes to the end, hits a stop, releases, reverses, just like tapping. You use the same thing, and it reverses back. So there's a lot you can do with this machine. If you get I recommend it. It's a Hardinge, can't beat that. And when I get it running, we'll get it actually cutting parts and making parts. We'll do a little video on that so you can see how that operates. And I'm excited and happy about it, getting it running. And we can move on now. I can go back to finishing the Bridgeport, some of the series on the Bridgeport rebuild. I'll get that done, and we'll move on. So we got to get our foundry built. That's coming, and all these things. This kind of held up the whole project. So that's done now. We got another couple of more days, fix up the bar feed and finish up some other things and hook it up a little bit better with the air and so on, and we're good to go. So please subscribe to my videos, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next video.